Have you ever been out walking and all of a sudden there's someone in front of you who's a threat to your physical safety? I have. And let me tell you, it's a really scary experience. But from that experience, I learned how to rethink my safety while I'm out walking. Aaron has asked me to provide you with some personal safety tips that you can implement while you're out walking, whether that's for exercise, for fun, or for work, so that you can feel more confident in your safety while you're out walking. I'm Mike Corwin, and I teach people how to feel more confident and secure about their personal safety as they go about living the life they want to live. I also help businesses, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies implement effective workplace violence prevention programs so that they can help their staff feel more safe and secure, keep their reputation in the community sound, and also to help protect their bottom line. In this video, we're going to go through some of the tips and techniques that I learned and implemented myself during my 30 plus years of working as a litigation investigator, where I conducted thousands of witness interviews in some of our nation's most dangerous areas, and some of the things that I taught to those businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies during my over 10 years of teaching personal safety and workplace violence prevention. Now, we are going to actually cover the way that to implement these tips starting today. So there's no need to wait in order to start feeling more safe and secure as you go about walking. What we're really talking about here is what's called situational awareness. And situational awareness is really just the understanding and the awareness of the environment around you and the people within it. And why that really becomes important is due to one very simple thing to understand, is that distance equals early warning equals options equals safety. And what I mean by that is really simple. The further away that you see a potential threat, the more of a chance you have to come up with a plan to avoid that threat. And with situational awareness, it's the most important thing that you can learn in personal safety, because it's the one thing that actually helps you to completely avoid encountering someone who's a risk to your safety. So when it comes to situational awareness, it's really about using your senses, primarily observation and hearing, and then also it's about trusting your instinct. We have millions of years of genetic programming that tells us that something doesn't feel safe to us. But too often, and especially women, are taught to ignore that inner feeling that crops up that says, hey, wait a minute, something is not right. So what we're going to really focus on today is the things that you need to do to recognize that there's a potential threat and how you go about avoiding it so that you can exit the situation safely. Now, Aaron has asked us to cover walking safety, and that's definitely a part of situational awareness. And it's actually really important that we do that for this reason. You are at far greater risk when you are out walking than, let's say, when you are out in a vehicle. So we need to be aware of that, and particularly because, let's face it, walking is great exercise. It's also the way that we get around. Let's say we're going downtown and we want to go to an event. It's how we're going to get around. So we really need to keep ourselves safe and secure while we're doing that. Now, it's very important that we not focus on our specific destination where we're going to, because that means we're going to miss all that's around us. So you have to really be thinking about what's off to your sides, what's behind you, as well as what's in front of you, which means that you cannot fix, right? You've got to keep your head moving. You've got to keep your eyes moving. You've got to listen for sounds that are coming from different directions. The most important thing when it comes to walking and you're in an area where there's vehicular traffic is that you should try whenever possible to walk against the flow of traffic. Now, here's why that's really important. One, you can see what's approaching you. So we have a risk, let's say it's somebody who's going to jump out of a car and try to pull you into that vehicle. If we are walking in the flow of traffic, they can literally pull up right behind you, jump out and grab you, or at least get to you before you even realize what's happening. If you are going against the flow of traffic, you are able to see what's coming towards you and you can respond to it. And then in addition to that, if they jump out in front of you, then you just turn and go. If they pull behind you and stop, each step that you're taking is creating more distance that they're then going to have to cover, which gives you more opportunity to exit the area. So it's really, really important that you walk against the flow of traffic whenever possible. Now, obviously, you may not be able to do that all the time, so you're going to have to be extra vigilant and really turn your head, look behind you, and also listen to traffic behind you. Now, the next thing is, and I know if you're out there and you're walking, you want to have your tunes with you, no earbuds. Earbuds are designed to block out a good amount of the information that's around you, particularly those that are noise canceling. If you really have to have your music, either play it and just listen to it or use one earbud. But we need to be able to hear as much as see what's around us. A couple of things that you really want to have to start to focus on and to really think about, because I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but as you walk, the environment actually changes. You get different viewpoints, even of the same building, of the same row of shrubs. Things change as you're moving. So what you really want to do is to pay attention, particularly to vehicles, and we'll talk a little bit about what you need to look for, to shrubs, to fences, buildings, any place where somebody can either be waiting for you or can blend in or to use as cover so that they can then get to you. Listening to the environment and the people around you is just about as important as being able to see, because there are going to be times when you will not be able to see what's happening around you. So we want to go ahead and be able to get our ears listening and focusing and responding to what we are hearing. It's particularly important for the sound of vehicles. Again, we talked about that they can pull up behind you or they can pull up and stop. But in addition to that, a vehicle can be a weapon, in the hands of an angry person. And we hear about this not infrequently, that they accelerate into a group of people. So you want to be able to hear and listen to and then respond when you hear a vehicle accelerating. Let's say you're walking out of your house and you want to go for a nice walk around the neighborhood. You need to listen to hear to see if a vehicle starts up, because that's how you're going to know if you're going to be followed by somebody. And again, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail, but I just want you to expand what you're thinking about, because we tend to fixate on what we're seeing and not necessarily on what we're hearing. Primarily, we're going to be talking about when you're out and about, but a lot of times we're in parking garages and parking lots, and that maybe that's related to work, maybe that's related to going to an event, or even if you're driving to a location in order to be able to walk it, let's say go hiking. So a couple of things to understand. Parking lots and parking garages, according to the FBI, is the third most dangerous place that you can be for murders and assaults. In 2017, approximately 1/3 of all U.S. homicides occurred in parking garages and parking lots. There were nearly 1,400 violent crimes occurring in parking lots and parking garages every single day. For nurses, this is actually one of the most dangerous places that you can be. It actually can be more dangerous than your workplace, because there's usually no security and shift changes happen as you're going out to your car. And later we're going to talk about what I think is really important for you to carry when you're out and about, particularly if you're in a parking garage or if you're out in the evening. Here's a slide image of a parking garage, and it's pretty typical. But what do we see in it? We see in it parked cars. We see a door where we're likely headed and the flow of direction of traffic is indicated by that arrow. And we're also seeing some cars there. So if you look to the left, you're going to see that there are a couple of columns and what looks like a small little building. There's a window in it. That is an ideal place for a person to hide, right? It gives them cover. And we're going to talk about the fact that somebody waiting for you will seek cover. In addition to that, if you look off to the other side, there are a couple of cars where somebody could squat down. Now, what does that mean? It means that when you're out and about, if you are walking in this specific parking garage or one similarly laid out, you really want to walk down the center, kind of where that arrow is, because that's going to buy you time to, one, be able to see if there's somebody that's waiting for you, and two, to react and create distance, right? We want distance. Distance is our friend. It's how we can avoid getting involved with somebody in a situation like that. Going back to overall safety, you need a little bit of a mindset change, and that mindset is thinking about an exit strategy. Okay, now what that really means is, where can I go if I need to get out of a place quickly and to do it safely? Doesn't necessarily mean the end position that you want to get to, but it also does mean at least an interim place that's safe from the imminent threat. So what we're talking about when we want to think about that is direction. Okay, what direction are we going? We want to kind of mentally pace it off about how many steps is it going to take for us to get there. And we also want to think about alternate routes. Let's say you start thinking, I'm going to head out. Somebody is coming towards you. You get nervous, so you start thinking, I want to go in the opposite direction away from them, and suddenly they quicken their pace. So now we need to think about alternate paths that we can go. Maybe it's doubling back and going the opposite direction. Maybe it's going further out. But we don't want to fixate on one specific direction and one specific path, because maybe that option disappears. So the main thing with situational awareness is to keep as many options available to you at all times. One last thing, obviously you have to be a little bit cautious about this, but if you're out walking and you feel uncomfortable, there's somebody, they're kind of pacing you, they're not really closing, they're not letting you get further away. Even if you try, they quicken their pace if you quicken your pace, and you see a group of people. If your instinct tells you it's safe to approach them, by all means approach them and wait out the situation and make sure that something passes. But again, listen to your gut. If you see those people and they don't look very safe to you, then don't go up to them. This person that's behind you might be part of that group. On the other hand, if they're people and you can trust them, then go on up, because there's safety in numbers. One of the things that we always need to think about, and this would actually be true if we were in a car as well as on foot, but on foot it's even more critical, is how to tell if you are being followed. There's a couple things to understand. Typically, someone needs to have a starting point where they begin to follow you, and that's usually when they're going to be most susceptible to you actually noticing them, right? They're moving when you move. Let's say if you're walking out of your house and you're going to take that nice walk around the neighborhood, that you look around you. Now, one, you do want to listen and see if you hear a car start up or an engine start to go forward as you come out, because they might be moving to keep pace with you. But you also want to look around and see if there are other people there, maybe kind of hanging out more than actually trying to walk. But they're not really going. You need to make visual contact and understand that those people are there. And if your gut says this doesn't feel right, turn around and go back in the house, right? Same with wherever you're going, but we need to kind of pay attention to what's going on. I mentioned this previously. There's something called car cover, or also people use fences, trees, buildings as cover as well, if they're watching you in anticipation of maybe following you. Car cover means basically they're in a vehicle behind a vehicle so that it's that much harder to see them. Let's say you come walking out of your house and you look to your left and there's 3 cars parked along the curb. That first car is empty. In that second car or in that third car would be where a person is more likely to sit because it's harder to see them due to that car cover from the first car. So you don't want to just look at the first vehicle and see if there's someone in there. You want to go ahead and look at that second, and if you can see it, that third vehicle. So what you do want to do is scan and look for the areas where there's a little bit more cover to them so that they can watch you. The other thing is, and I know it sounds crazy paranoid, but it doesn't hurt to start out in one direction, even though you intend to go the other direction. Walk, maybe 30, 40 feet and then turn around. Because by that time, who's ever going to follow you, if they're coming from that opposite direction, will have had to have started walking. And this gives you the chance to see them and to double back and either get back to your starting point or to get back and go the opposite direction. So, it does sound a little bit paranoid, but, a little tiny bit of paranoia is okay, because really what that is that's your gut instinct speaking out to you, and we do want to listen to that. This is a little bit controversial, but I a lot of times get asked the question of, should you carry a weapon when you go out for your walk? Now, I'm going to distinguish a couple of things here, but I'm not a big believer in it, and these are the main reasons why. One, any weapon that you carry can be taken from you and used against you. So obviously, if you carry a gun and the other person grabs it from you, they now have you at gunpoint, right? Same thing with a knife. If you carry a weapon, be prepared that they may be able to take that from you. And I've taught people for over 10 years how to take knives, how to take firearms, both long and short, from someone else. It can be done. The next thing is, and this is particular for like pepper spray, but it can be for, a semi-automatic. It can be for one of those blaring sirens that they always advertise and we get spammed in our mailboxes about. Anything mechanical can fail. So we have to be mindful of what do we do if we're relying on a mechanical device for our safety and it fails. We need to have a backup plan. The next thing is, and this is something only you can answer, but you have to be emotionally prepared for the fallout if you need to use that weapon. It's one thing if the target of that weapon is the bad person, but bullets can miss and can go through buildings, they can go through cars, they can go through walls. Are you prepared for the emotional pain that can come from knowing that you just fired a shot that hit an innocent person? Because face it, under duress, using a weapon is not easy. So that's a lot of what not to carry, in my opinion, and I spent my 30 years as an investigator not carrying weapons. But if you have to go out in low light situations, either early in the morning, in the late, in the evening, or at night, I believe very strongly in carrying a little tactical flashlight. With this little flashlight, which has a sharpened kind of jagged bezel area in the front, it has a thumb activated on-off switch that you can use. It's ideal, and you'll recognize this from our hammer fist motion. It's a dynamite striking device, but here's the beauty of it. A quick flash in the eyes, and then a strike. And if you have to go out to your car at night, if you're at night anywhere, once you flash into their eyes, you can go ahead and momentarily get them to close their eyes, turn their head away, and that creates your opportunity for striking. So I mentioned earlier that giving you these tips is great, but what I really want for you is to be able to start implementing them right away. And so how do we do that? Okay, it's actually fairly easy, and there's kind of a double approach that you can do. One is, whenever you are out, I want you to describe to yourself what you see. There's a brown car next to the curb, and there's a person in the driver's seat. There's a yellow car behind them, but I don't see anyone. I want you also to describe where the lights are, the street lights are, where shrubbery is. And all you're going to do is just start describing what you see. Practicing that will actually become automatic fairly quickly, and all of a sudden your brain is going to actually start seeing these things without you consciously having to describe them, having to, look at what they look like. And what we want with that is, as soon as your brain begins to automatically see these, when it starts to see something at the same time that's a threat, you actually will begin that process of avoidance. So you have your chance to see it early enough to give you the options to come up with a plan to get out of there safely, and you're going to do it automatically. Now, if you want to really have some fun with this, because it's a little bit of a challenge, is to take out your cell phone and videotape what you are seeing as you're describing it. Then play it back and listen to what you're describing versus what you see on the camera. It can be a real eye-opener and show you that even though a lot of us think we already know how to do situational awareness, we really don't. Just practice those and it will become automatic for you. I've got a free PDF download on situational awareness and how to apply it in a variety of situations, both when you're out on the street and also when you're in a public building, at a workplace, in different scenarios, so that you can do that. And I'll enclose the link here for that, and you can just screen capture it and download it, or hopefully Aaron will post a link for you guys to it. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity.